Hello everybody and welcome to my best of 2016 video. This is a video that I've been so excited to do all year. This is one of my favorite things to do at the end of every year. Talk about my best and my worst films of the year. This was a great year for movies. Now granted, we had some disappointments mainly in the blockbuster department, but with the indie department and some blockbusters, we've had an overall fantastic year for movies, especially during the last 4 months of the year with all the Oscar films and the few blockbusters to come out. I loved 2016. Also, this was a very, very special year for me. I made almost 90 movie reviews on YouTube, and I saw almost 100 movies this year. I think, as of this recording, I've seen 98. That's pretty amazing. I'm really proud of myself. Give myself a nice pat on the back. I'm really proud of myself. Now, here's the way this is going to work. I'm not doing the top 10. I'm doing the top 20. Now, last year and the year before, I did top 10s. This year, I'm doing the top 20 simply because there were so many movies that I loved this year that if I only did 10, I would have 26 honorable mentions. I have to do 20. That's just how I see it. So, before I list off my honorable mentions, I'm going to say this right now. This is my personal list. If you don't like my list, that's totally fine. If there are things on here that you love that I didn't love, I'm sorry to hear that. So, let's get into the honorable mentions. Kubo and the Choo Train, Barbershop The Next Cut, Moana, Deadpool, Finding Dory, Cafe Society, The Conjuring 2, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find, Kung Fu Panda 3, The Magnificent Seven, Hunt for the Wilder People, Sausage Party, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, and by the way, rest in peace Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. Those are two tragic deaths. Carrie Fisher especially, that really broke my heart. Star Trek Beyond. And my last honorable mention is the BFG, directed by Steven Spielberg. Alright guys, so let's get into the list, shall we? I know you guys are all waiting for this, so here we go. Kicking off the list at number 20 is The Witch was one of those horror movies that just really got to me and just really creeped me out. Sure, it's not the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it's so suspenseful to the point where you're like, I don't know what's going on. I just cannot believe it. Robert Eggers directed this, and he directed it beautifully. Anya Taylor-Joy was amazing in it. The Witch, wonderful, phenomenal horror movie that I think a lot of people should give a chance to, especially if you're a fan of unconventional horror films. The Jungle Book blew me out of the water. Like, I was so worried going into this movie, but after hearing all the praise and all the amazing production stories, I was like, I'm excited now. And Jon Favreau directed this film so well. I am a huge fan of the way this film looks. The CGI, it's the best film visually. If this film does not win Best Visual Effects, then there's going to be a problem. It was charming, it was funny, it was endearing, it was fast-paced, it was beautiful looking. I love The Jungle Book a lot. You know, I've never seen Blue Ruin, but Green Room, it got me, man. From the directing by Jeremy Saulnier, if that's how you pronounce his name, to the incredible performances from Patrick Stewart and the late Anton Yelchin, rest in peace. This movie scared the crap out of me. It had me on the edge of my seat. A punk rock band going into a club run by neo-Nazis? How could that not be a great premise? That is so amazing. And Patrick Stewart, I think, should get Oscar consideration for his performance because you did not see Professor X. You saw the character that he played, a neo-Nazi leader, and it was great. Zootopia was one of those Disney films that I thought was going to follow the cliche Disney formula by being like, oh, here's this, you know where it's going, there's that, the end. It wasn't that. It had elements of racism, stereotyping, sexuality. It was so mature compared to any Disney animated film I've seen in forever that's why it made my list. I was blown away by it, and of course it is very funny, and Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman are wonderful as Julie Hopps and Nick Wilde. Like, their chemistry is just on the charts, and I really cannot wait to see more of these characters if they decide to continue with this storyline. And by the way, the DMV scene is the most accurate scene of anything I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, Zootopia is number 17. Captain America Civil War was a superhero film that just blew me out of the water. To the point where I'm just like, you were able to put all these characters in this movie, and it didn't feel rushed, it didn't feel boring, it felt right. Everyone was phenomenal in this movie. The Russo brothers did it once again. I love this more than The Winter Soldier, and I love The Winter Soldier. This isn't my favorite Marvel film, but it's the best one they ever made. The twists and turns are insane. This has a psychological thriller element to it, and if someone says it doesn't, fight me. Just fucking fight me. Civil War, fantastic superhero film. The Edge of 17 was another big surprise, just like The Jungle Book. I had no expectations going into this movie. I saw the trailers, and I'm just like, it looks like your typical coming-of-age movie, but it had a lot of great buzz from TIFF, and I'm like, okay, I'll go check this out. And I checked it out before I left the theater. I never got around to reviewing the movie, which I feel bad about, because The Edge of 17 is one of the best coming-of-age films I've seen in a very long time. It's charming, it pays homage to John Hughes, it feels genuine, and it feels so real. I just graduated high school this past June, and I'm already in my first year of college. I can relate to this very well. I can relate to Haley Steinfeld's character very well, even though I'm a boy. Anyone can relate to this movie. Kids, adults, anyone can relate to this movie, and it's really just a beautifully told story. I don't remember the name of the director. She made a very well-crafted movie, and the performances were fantastic, and Woody Harrelson, man. I wish I had a teacher like that. You need to watch out for run-on senses. Great film. Loved every second of it. This might be the most underappreciated film of the entire year in terms of all the blockbusters. The Nice Guys was an incredible comedy. This movie made me laugh so hard that I was rolling on the floor. There were tears coming down my eyes. It was amazing. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling's chemistry is on the charts. They are just so good together. Shane Black directed and wrote this movie. I mean, how often do you get a brilliant neo-noir detective movie? We haven't gotten one in a long time, and this is one of the best I've ever seen. The Nice Guys had great comedy, great soundtrack, great pacing to it. I just adored this movie so much. It's hard not to like this movie. I have not met one person that hated this movie, except for one of my professors. So, how do you teach film if you don't like The Nice Guys? Like, come on. Mel Gibson came back to form with Hacksaw Ridge, which is now one of the greatest war movies I've ever seen, and it just came out this year. From the performances of Andrew Garfield, Vince Vaughn, Sam Worthington, Teresa Palmer, Hugo Weaving, to Gibson's direction, to the writing, to the action sequences. Oh my god, the action was so good. It left me speechless. This movie is phenomenal. It is so well done that Mel Gibson should be nominated for Best Director, and this shows that he is still one of the greatest filmmakers we have ever had. Everybody Wants Some is the spiritual successor to Dazed and Confused. It's directed once again by Richard Linklater, and the cast is awesome. Glenn Powell. Alright? Glenn Powell. That's it. The end. No, in all seriousness, the soundtrack is great. Sure, there may not be a story. Sure, it may just be about a bunch of baseball players in college just partying before the semester begins. But honestly, you don't really need a story. It's the background of these characters that makes you want to keep watching the movie. Like, the characters are all great. All of them are fantastic. I might have had one character that I wasn't really in love with compared to everyone else, but I had no gripes with any of these characters. Like I said, Glenn Powell, Finn, amazing character, one of my favorite characters of the whole year. This movie was funny, it was charming, it was sweet, it had a lot of heart. I loved Everybody Wants Some. But I will say this film is not as good as Dazed and Confused, but it's still a wonderful film. Loved it so much. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Now, I went into Hell or High Water knowing nothing about it except for who was in it: Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine, and Ben Foster. The reason why I went into this knowing nothing was because I heard that was the right thing to do. So I went in not watching a trailer. All I knew was who was in it, and that's it. Man, this movie blew me out of the water. It's one of the best westerns I think I've ever seen. Modern westerns ever. It's written by Taylor Sheridan, who wrote Sicario from last year, and you could tell because it does feel like Sicario in some way, shape, or form. You have Chris Pine and Ben Foster, who are two brothers, Rob and Banks, and Jeff Bridges is on the run for them. It's an engaging movie. It's never boring. It never drags. My dad, who I never thought would like a movie like this, loved every second of it, just like me. Hell or High Water is one of the best indies of the year, and I'm really happy with all the award buzz it's getting because Jeff Bridges will probably be nominated for the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. The film could get nominated, the script should get nominated, and the direction should as well. It's a beautifully done film. I loved it so much. Hell or High Water, number 11. Now we get into the top 10 best of 2016. Now this list is very, very divisive. There's a lot of stuff you probably have seen in everyone else's top 10, but there's also films you're like, that's on your top 10? That's very awesome, man. Okay, so a lot of people are going to probably give me smack for putting this movie at number 10, but the only reason why I put this at number 10 is because I can't see myself rewatching it again like the other 9 films that are above it. So my number 10 is Moonlight was an amazing film. It was a beautifully done film. It will probably end up being one of the potential winners for the Best Picture Oscar. But hey, I adored Moonlight so much. I loved every performance. I loved Barry Jenkins' direction, the writing, the cinematography, the editing. It wasn't a slow film. It was very fast paced. And my only problem was I wanted to spend more time following the character of Chiron. I didn't want the movie to end. And when the movie ended, I'm like, no, I want more. Mahershala Ali is currently my pick for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars because he'll probably win. And if he does win, I won't be mad. And if he doesn't win, then I'll kind of be sad. Number 9, we have Arrival, which is another film people are going to give me smack for putting so low on this list. Denis Villeneuve, you are literally one of the best filmmakers we've ever had. You are 4 for 4. Now, I've never seen Incendies, but Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario in this, dude, you're on fire. I cannot wait for Blade Runner 2049. I am so excited. Amy Adams is phenomenal in this movie. The visuals are really great. I appreciate how this is a self-contained story involving the aliens coming down to Earth. It's not your big budget blockbuster where there's explosions and stuff. It's self-contained. And when you learn about as to why the aliens have come down to Earth, you're just like, that's beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful movie. Johan Johansson's score is the best score of the whole year, in my personal opinion. And it has my favorite ending of the year. Arrival, just beautifully done sci-fi film. One of the best I've ever seen, period. You know, a lot of people were not fond of Swiss Army Man when they walked out of the theater because they're like, oh, it's just Daniel Radcliffe playing a foreign corpse and blah, 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 blah. Listen to me carefully. That may be what the movie's about, but there's more to it. It's a beautifully told story. The Daniels directed this movie so well. They wrote it very well. Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano gave 2 of my favorite performances of the whole year. Daniel Radcliffe was phenomenal. You didn't see Harry Potter. And the montage song has been playing in my head since I saw the movie back in July. It was an original movie. Swiss Army Man is one of the most original films of the decade thus far. It's fantastic. And it's not for everybody. I will say it's not for everybody, but for me, I was blown away. Mainstream horror this year has been great. Like, I brought up The Witch earlier, but that's an indie film that was released wide. This film, Don't Breathe, was better than I expected. It poked stripes at the cliched home invasion films. It was directed by Fede Alvarez, who directed the acclaimed Evil Dead reboot, which I have not seen. Sue me. From the way it's directed, the hauntedness, it gripped me on the edge of my seat when I saw it opening day. I could tell you that when I got out of the movie, I was just like, I couldn't breathe because of how intense this movie was. Now, this may not have been the scariest horror movie of the year, but it was my favorite horror movie of the year because I did not expect much from it because of how it looked like a typical home invasion movie. But how would you feel if you went up against a blind guy who turned out to be the most insane guy ever and you cast Stephen Lang as him? That's brilliant. That's just wonderful. And all the other actors in this movie were great. Jane Levi. Rocky, one of my favorite characters of the year. Obviously, she can't top Rocky Balboa. It's the best Rocky in film, but she's a great Rocky. I love this movie so much. Check it out if you haven't seen it, but don't watch it with the lights off. Unless if you want a true experience. Nocturnal Animals is the most recent film I've seen on this list, and I can tell you right now, if I didn't see this before the year ended, I would have regretted it because Nocturnal Animals is a phenomenal film. A story within the story within the story. Tom Ford directed this. How in the bloody hell did a fashion designer make this movie? You watch the movie and you're like, there's no way a fashion designer made this movie, but the guy has a good eye for filmmaking. A Single Man is a good film. This tops it in every way, shape, or form. From Amy Adams to Jake Gyllenhaal to Michael Shannon to Aaron Taylor Johnson, all the performances are terrific. The writing was great. The direction was great. I really hope this movie does very well come Oscar time because it has been getting good award buzz at the other award shows like Michael Shannon and Aaron Taylor Johnson are now really strong for the awards. I wonder which one's going to get nominated. They were both amazing, but I don't know which one to choose. Nocturnal Animals, if we got a movie where it was just the stuff that happened in the book, then that would have been great. But to be quite honest, it worked when it was taking place outside the book too. So I loved every second of Nocturnal Animals. I was blown away. And all the theories I've been watching online about the ending, not going to spoil anything, but it's quite fascinating. So if you're interested in seeing Nocturnal Animals, be prepared. It's definitely the weirdest movie on the list. Most of the movies on my list are weird, but this is probably the weirdest for sure. 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now, I understand a lot of people have problems with the last 20 minutes of the movie and they appreciate everything more in the bunker. I will have to agree that I appreciate everything more in the bunker, but even outside, it was a thrilling movie. It was well paced. It was well crafted. You don't even have to have seen the original Cloverfield to appreciate this movie. And I was blown away. John Goodman. See, this is my favorite supporting actor performance the whole year. And he's not even going to get nominated. Mary Elizabeth Winstead was also really great in this movie, as was John Gallagher Jr., who's not on this cover. Dan Trachtenberg, dude, your direction, I cannot wait to see whatever else you direct, because this movie had a lot of on the edge of your seat moments, and I cannot wait to see more in this Cloverfield universe. La La Land. Oh my god, what a beautifully done film. I had to see this twice to know where it would be on my list, and hey, it's pretty high up. Now, I appreciate Whiplash just a tad bit more than this, but I loved every second of La La Land. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are terrific together. This is the third time working together. They're awesome. Emma Stone is actually my pick for Best Actress, which I hope she wins, but then again, everyone's saying Natalie Portman will win. I haven't seen Jackie. I can't comment, but I'm sure she's terrific in the movie. The musical numbers in this movie are so original and unique, and I love how this movie pays homage to the classic movies from the 40s and 50s. It's a beautifully done film shot on 35mm film with the beautiful cinematography and terrific quick-cut editing and the awesome performances and the brilliant score. La La Land is a film that's hard not to like. I work at a movie theater, and people keep buying tickets for La La Land, and it gets me excited because now more people are going to go see the movie, and it's awesome. Except for one person. One person came up today and was like, "Oh, what else is available?" And I said, "La La Land's available." And they're like, "Oh, no, I don't want to see that." And inside I'm like, "Bitch, what?" I can't remember the last time an indie made me feel this happy when I saw it. Captain Fantastic is seriously one of the best indies I've seen of the last 10 years. It's written and directed by Matt Ross, who's known as Gavin from Silicon Valley. Viggo Mortensen plays a father who has to take his 6 kids out of the wilderness where they live and experience the outside world, and I'm not going to get into why, but it is quite interesting. This movie is heartfelt. It's so funny. The performances are wonderful. Viggo Mortensen, I think, has a really strong chance now of getting an Oscar nomination. He just got a Golden Globe nomination and a SAG nomination, so I think he has a really strong chance of getting nominated. The Sweet Child O' Mine scene at the end, oh, that was quite beautiful. Tear coming down my eye. So Captain Fantastic, if you haven't seen it, please do yourself a favor and check it out. Not a lot of people got to see this movie. It was big at film festivals. People should go consider watching it right now as I speak. Manchester by the Sea, the most emotional film of the entire year for me. Casey Affleck is my pick for Best Actor. He gave my favorite performance of the entire year. When you watch his character, Lee Chandler, in the beginning of the movie, you're like, why is this guy such an asshole to everybody? But halfway through the movie, you're like, he has a really good reason to hate life, and it's really heartbreaking. The movie is very emotionally sad, but it's very funny as well. There's a lot of good dark comedy to this movie, and the performances felt so realistic. Like, Casey Affleck's performance felt realistic. Michelle Williams, Lucas Hedges, who should get more nominations, because honestly, that kid was wonderful. I'm not fond of kid actors. That might be my favorite breakthrough performance of the entire year. Kenneth Longren's writing and direction, beautifully done. I think this film has a really strong chance to win Best Picture. Manchester by the Sea, beautiful, realistic, darkly funny, heartbreaking, heartfelt. One of the best of the decade so far, in my personal opinion. Now, here we go to my number one. This is a film that I saw very early on in the year. Now, I didn't know if there was ever going to be a film that would top this, and it turns out that it never was. This is the most relatable film I've seen all year. There are always those films each and every year that come out where it's like, hey, I can relate to that in some way, shape, or form. So my favorite film of 2016 is Saint Street, directed by John Carney, the Mann brothers, Once and Begin Again. This is a musical set in the 1980s. It follows a boy named Connor who forms a band for the heart of a girl named Rafina. It's a simple premise. Everyone can relate to it because it's about following your dreams, following your path, finding out who you are and what you mean to this world. The character of Connor tries to find out what he is to this world. His nickname's Cosmo, by the way. He tries to find out what he means to the world because his parents don't really care for him. He has a good relationship with his brother. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. I cried a lot. I laughed a lot. The songs are amazing. Drive It Like You Stole It. If that song's not nominated for the Oscar, if none of these songs are nominated for Oscars, like if it's not specifically Drive It Like You Stole It, at least nominate one song from this movie. Nominate this movie for Best Picture. Weinstein. Promote this movie more. Campaign it more for the awards. Please, people need to watch this movie. People have to. It's on Netflix if you haven't watched it already. Look, Sing Street just meant a lot to me. It really grabbed me by my heart. When I walked out of the theater, I smiled bigger than I did after seeing any movie this year, and that's saying a lot because whenever I go to the movies, I just want to have a good time and be blown away, and this movie made me have a good time and it blew me away. Sing Street is, to me, my favorite film of 2016. May not be the best in terms of filmmaking, but it's my personal favorite of the entire year. So guys, that is my top 20 best of 2016. Let me know down below your list. Share with me your videos. Follow me on Twitter. Look at my letterbox. Tell me your list. Share links, video, written articles. Just show me your list. And stay tuned for my worst of 2016. That will be 10 films, not 20. Don't worry about it. I didn't see that many bad movies this year. Guys, really, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.